Imagine calling out one of hip-hop's most untouchable figures and live on air, watching him crumble in silence. That's exactly what happened, and it all started with one sentence. A 60-year-old hip-hop mogul thought he ran the game, until I spoke into a microphone and shattered 30 years of untouchable power. Here's what went down. Everyone in hip-hop was too scared to say it, until I did. And trust me, the industry hasn't recovered since. What happens when a boxer, a kingmaker, and a podcast collide? One sentence changed the game forever, and you're about to see it. They told me I couldn't touch him. They told me to stay quiet. I didn't. And now the biggest name in hip-hop has been called out, live. My name is Mace, and I stand behind every word I say. One simple sentence from me shattered Jay Prince's 30-year silence. And this wasn't a leaked recording, a hidden threat, or some backdoor maneuver cooked up behind closed doors. No, this was me, live on air, staring straight into the camera, and saying what everyone in hip-hop had been too afraid to voice out loud. What I said didn't exist in whispers or private messages. It landed in real time for everyone to witness. And make no mistake, this wasn't just another moment of artist beef or a clash of egos. This was the public dismantling of one of hip-hop's most untouchable figures, the kind of kingmaker whose influence had shaped the careers of countless artists and executives for decades. And the weapon? Not a platinum track, not a viral disverse, not a signature beat. The weapon was a microphone, plain, unassuming, but in the right hands, devastatingly powerful. A podcast mic had become the instrument of cultural upheaval. The moment hit like a haymaker to the industry's jaw. It wasn't just commentary, it was a generational call-out, the kind of statement that makes people stop and rethink everything they thought they knew about power dynamics in hip-hop. On the surface, we were reviewing Shakur Stevenson's latest fight, a professional sports critique in a format designed for entertainment and conversation. But the implications went far beyond the squared circle. When I called the fight boring, it wasn't a slight against Stevenson alone, it was a declaration that no one, no matter how decorated or powerful, is beyond critique. And the response? Immediate. The words went viral, spreading faster than any press release or highlight reel ever could. Social media exploded, clips circulated, and suddenly the conversation was bigger than boxing. It was about influence, hierarchy, and the fragility of long-standing authority. Boring, we said, and the audience agreed. Across Instagram threads, TikTok clips, and Twitter spaces, fans echoed the sentiment. Yeah, it's boring, became the unanimous opinion, almost a chant for those tired of polished performances that lack excitement. But when those words reached Stevenson, they hit like a personal affront. For someone at the top of his game, defending a title, being called boring wasn't just criticism, it was an insult to his persona and a challenge to the image carefully curated over years. And how did he respond? Not with introspection, not with a renewed performance, but with escalation. Within hours, he launched into a full-blown social media tirade, challenging us to get the strap, or strap up, even daring us to step into the ring. This wasn't typical fan backlash or a standard reply to critique. Stevenson's reaction transformed a conversation about boxing into a larger commentary on power, respect, and perceived threats. The absurdity was apparent. Two podcasters critiquing a fight were suddenly considered combatants in a battle of honor and reputation. It was a spectacle that blurred the lines between sports commentary, celebrity culture, and the public theater of dominance. What started as an opinion about the technical and stylistic flaws in a fight had spiraled into a generational showdown, a cultural moment where commentary alone held the power to provoke a champion into defensive theatrics. And yet, the impact went deeper than social media clout. By taking the stage and speaking candidly, I exposed a truth that had long been unspoken in hip-hop circles. Influence built on fear, reputation, and control could be challenged, even dismantled, through conversation and public discourse. For decades, certain figures operated with an almost untouchable aura, capable of dictating outcomes and resolving disputes with a simple phone call. The unwritten rule was that few dared to speak openly against them. But now, with one candid critique delivered into the airwaves, that veil of untouchability was lifted. A new precedent had been set. No matter how powerful, no one is immune to critique, and sometimes, the boldest weapon isn't a diss track, it's a microphone. The viral spread of our commentary amplified the cultural stakes. Clips of the critique circulated endlessly, dissected by sports analysts, music commentators, and everyday fans alike. The conversation shifted from the ring to the broader cultural landscape, challenging perceptions of who could speak, who could challenge, and who truly holds power. The industry collectively paused, witnessing a disruption of the old order in real time. The spectacle wasn't just about the fight or the boxer's pride. It was about the collision of traditional authority with a new era where influence could be wielded through words, wit, and the reach of digital platforms. Stevenson's challenge to strap up became a symbol of this generational tension. On one side, a champion accustomed to respect and fear, interpreting critique as a personal affront. On the other, commentators armed only with a mic, a platform, and a willingness to speak openly without concern for the hierarchy that had once dominated. The scene was emblematic of a larger cultural shift. Authority was no longer guaranteed by reputation alone. Influence, reach, and courage of expression had emerged as equally, if not more, powerful currencies. In the days that followed, the conversation only grew. Social media exploded with reactions, memes, and debates. The discussion moved from the fight itself to what the episode represented: the audacity to confront untouchable figures and the power of modern media platforms to amplify a voice previously considered secondary. It became clear that the rules of influence had changed, and the microphone, once a tool for entertainment, had evolved into a weapon capable of shaking long-established hierarchies. This wasn't merely commentary, it was a declaration that in a world dominated by algorithms, podcasts, and viral moments, no one is untouchable. One candid statement, delivered with clarity and confidence, had altered the landscape. And as Stevenson reacted, attempting to assert dominance in the same space that had now become ours, the true lesson emerged. Influence could no longer rely solely on fear or reputation. It required engagement, visibility, and the ability to navigate a world where the audience, not tradition, dictates power. In that moment, live on air, one sentence did more than critique a fight. It challenged the foundations of an entire cultural hierarchy, announcing a new era where conversation itself was the ultimate authority. And the microphone, silent for so long, had finally spoken. It all started on July 8, 2024. Mace and Cameron, on our show It Is What It Is, were reviewing Stevenson's latest title defense. On the surface, it looked like normal sports commentary, but it became the spark that lit a cultural firestorm. I called the fight painfully dull, pointing out Stevenson's defensive style lacked excitement and power. Cam agreed, adding that even Stevenson's hometown crowd in New York had booed during the late rounds. Fans online were saying the same thing. But when I admitted I didn't want to watch another Stevenson fight, the young boxer took it personally. Within hours, Stevenson unleashed a full-blown social media meltdown. He wasn't defending his skills, he was attacking me personally. He called me a fake pastor, mocked my career, and said I was more famous for my podcast than my music. Those words ignited a chain reaction. By the next morning, what started as a fight review had turned into a generational showdown. Fans witnessed it in real time. Stevenson's posts escalated from defensive to desperate, dripping with anger. He challenged both Cam and me to glove up or shut up, even mocking our appearances. For someone who just defended a world title, it looked like panic. Art is art. Criticism is opinion. If someone doesn't like your craft, that doesn't give you the right to chase them down. Cam fired back the very next day. On the July 9th episode, he looked into the camera and spoke what everyone was thinking. Stevenson was mixing up boxing with street life. "You talking about strapping up? Why give folks a heads up?" he said, shaking his head. Then Cam did what he does best, cut through the tension with humor. He dubbed Stevenson Shakur Twitter, roasting him for spending more time tweeting than actually fighting. But beneath the laughs, there was real frustration. This wasn't just a sports debate. It was a collision of generations, a moment where commentary became confrontation, and where a podcast mic felt more powerful than any title belt. What should have been a messy but harmless clash between grown men and a young, thin-skinned fighter suddenly got a lot more serious. Enter Jay Prince. The Houston mogul, who's managed Stevenson since 2016, stepped into the conversation like a general defending his territory. On July 13th, Prince posted a message that sent shockwaves. "Let the haters say he's boring. He has the #1 ratings on ESPN this year. And to those who want to escalate hate outside the ring, I handle all his business." In other words, Cam and Mace, I've got your backs. Mess with him, and you're messing with me. Those few lines weren't just about pride. They carried weight. Threat. Jay Prince's name has been synonymous with control for 3 decades, the kind of authority that doesn't need to be shouted. When he spoke, rooms fell silent. But this time, the reaction was different. Instead of fear, the internet responded with disbelief. Because the proof Prince cited wasn't exactly what it seemed. Stevenson's #1 ratings came from a fight aired on ESPN, not a pay-per-view. That meant anyone with a basic cable subscription counted as a viewer. The numbers weren't about box office power, they were just broadcast metrics. In other words, the empire might have been flexing, but the muscle wasn't as strong as it looked. I'm not beefing with motivational quotes. The audience went wild. In that moment, the balance of power had shifted completely. We're not little. All that big homie stuff? That's for little people. We don't even respect it. Within days, headlines from Billboard to Complex were echoing the same sentiment. The old guard had been publicly challenged, and the challenger wasn't backing down. Mace had done what no one else dared. He questioned whether Prince's influence still carried weight in a world dominated by podcasts, social platforms, and viral moments. Behind the laughs, there was strategy. Behind the strategy, a message. The gatekeepers no longer control the gate. But as the noise grew louder, one question emerged in every thread, every group chat, every industry call. Why did Prince go silent? No statement, no attempt to reclaim the narrative. Was it a calculated pause, or the first time in decades that the Houston powerhouse had no move left? The answer could reveal more about the future of hip-hop power than any podcast ever could. The turning point? That line, if you're 60 and still trying to be a street man, you failed. The internet froze and then erupted. Clips went viral across platforms within minutes. Millions of views before midnight. Podcasters dissected it, boxers reacted, and even veteran artists who typically stayed silent dropped subtle emojis under the clip. The shock wasn't just that Mace said it, it was that he said it calmly on camera, smiling as he did. For the first time in decades, someone had voiced what many had whispered privately but never dared to record. We're starting with you, since you're the big homie. That's how it goes here, he added, pointing out the lack of self-awareness behind the boxer's threats after a lackluster performance. Within hours, DJ Academics reposted the clip with the caption, "He really went there." Analysts from battle rap to sports weighed in. Insiders revealed that several rappers allegedly called Mace that night, some to congratulate, others to warn. A veteran manager reportedly told him to lay low for a few weeks. But the next morning, Mace was back on his show like nothing had happened, joking that he was trending more than the boxer who started it all. The real damage wasn't to Prince's reputation, it was to the illusion that his word was law. Once the mystique cracked and the fear vanished, the internet didn't stop talking. Behind the scenes, Prince's camp scrambled. Sources in Houston claimed phone calls were made to media outlets, asking for balanced coverage, but there was no balancing this. Mace and Cam had taken a simple boxing critique and turned it into a viral coup, forever changing how influence and power are measured in hip-hop. Numbers told the story better than words ever could. Stevenson's #1 rated ESPN fight had aired for free, grabbing attention but generating no direct revenue. Meanwhile, It Is What It Is was exploding. New sponsorships rolled in, viewership spikes reportedly doubled streaming deals, and in just 1 week, the Harlem duo's brand value shot up, while Stevenson's win quickly faded into meme territory. For me personally, I was done before even touching the Prince angle. I'd stayed quiet for years, never chasing fights or controversies. Yet this one? It drew more traction than anything in my career. And that's when the contradictions became impossible to ignore. Look at history. When Kendrick Lamar and Drake waged lyrical wars that split the internet, Prince, close to Drake, stayed silent. When Offset and Quo clashed after tragedy, he spoke only once, vaguely. But now, two podcasters call a boxer boring and suddenly it's fade all shots. The pattern was clear. Prince didn't intervene to defend art. He intervened to enforce hierarchy. This wasn't about boxing or ratings. It was about control. Silence as a weapon. Fear as currency. We're watching it happen in real time. The same voices that once needed permission for interviews now set the narrative every morning through microphones, not music videos. That's the generational shift. In the 90s, power came from access. Studio time, radio play, distribution. Today, power lives in data, clicks, reposts. Every viral episode multiplies influence without a label, without protection, without permission. That's why this feud feels bigger than a misunderstanding. It feels like a turning point, a handoff of power the old guard never planned to make. And that silence from Houston still lingers. Prince hasn't said a word beyond that cryptic line about respect. The era has changed and everyone can see it. Inside the circles that matter, speculation runs wild. Some believe Prince is regrouping, weighing whether to double down or retreat entirely. Others see his silence as admission, realizing this fight can't be won on his terms. You can't intimidate a man whose currency is conversation. You can't call out a host whose brand is built on talking. The old rules that once protected the powerful are now entertainment for everyone else. As Mace explained, you can't be selective. When you come at me, you can't pick and choose who you want to get tough with. That's why I had to say something. While everyone fixated on the digital blows traded between Mace and Prince, the real winners were the platforms fueling the spectacle. Every Stevenson tweet drove engagement spikes. Every podcast segment became a viral clip. And every silence from Prince added mystery, which algorithms rewarded. The ecosystem thrived on tension, not resolution. Outrage was monetized, clipped, captioned, and looped until the feud itself became currency. This wasn't just a generational clash, it was the rise of what insiders now call the podcast industrial complex, where controversy equals profit and drama never truly ends. Comparing it to past rivalries highlights the shift. 2 decades ago, when 50 Cent and Ja Rule went at it, radio dictated momentum and labels decided the fallout. When Drake and Pusha T faced off, streaming amplified reach, but traditional marketing still controlled the narrative. Now, there's no boardroom middleman. Podcasters, YouTubers, and influencers operate as independent networks. Algorithms reward conflict over clarity. The same energy that once sold records now drives ad revenue, views, and subscriptions. The game hasn't changed, it's just moved from studios to soundboards. As Mace put it, you don't get to tell me what to like or Cam what to like. Art is subjective. If we don't like something, that's on us. You can't get mad. Especially when you're standing there with 2 Hall of Fame-level fighters who constantly put it on the line. Insiders say the old guard knows the stakes. Reports from Houston suggest Prince's team is quietly plotting how to handle future critiques, strategizing viral containment rather than confrontation. But in 2024, the next challenge won't come from a label rival or a diss track. It will come from a podcaster, with a mic, a timeline, and zero fear. The empire that once ruled through silence now fights for relevance in a world built on noise, a war no old-school kingmaker is ready for. Mace explained the scale of the disrespect they faced. He said some of the most disrespectful things I've ever heard in 27 years. It was wild, but we kept our cool and moved forward. Now, hip-hop sits at a crossroads. On one side, traditional hierarchy built on fear, loyalty, and unspoken codes. On the other, a new ecosystem powered by algorithms, microphones, and viral momentum. What happens when the man who once controlled careers can't even claim the last word? What happens to those who built reputations on untouchable names? If Prince can't silence Mace, maybe the era of silence is over. Perhaps this is hip-hop's first public battle in a civil war of sorts, a moment where control shifted from the streets to the streams. If this clash proved anything, it's that the mic might now be stronger than the muscle. The question for everyone watching is simple. Has hip-hop finally outgrown fear, or is it just learning new ways to disguise it? Drop your thoughts, tell us what side you're on, and stay tuned. This story is far from over. Until next time, we'll be watching.